In conjunction with this year's Arnold Sports Festival, Arnold Schwarzenegger spoke of, among other things, Terminator 6, which is now in post-production. But more interestingly, to me at least, he also gave an update on the current status of the long in gestation King Conan movie, and in the process. The blame for that not yet being made was, in not so many words, assigned to some young guy who owns the rights. But there may be more to it than that. In this editorial then, I will not only go over Schwarzenegger's status update, but put it into context, explore who this young guy holding the movie up is, his failed Conan projects, and what the future might hold for Conan on film. On January 1st of 2019, the Conan comic book license was shifted from Dark Horse to Marvel, and in conjunction with Marvel's relaunch, came a renewed interest in the character, including from Arnold Schwarzenegger himself.
This is a fantastic comic book. Look at this. Conan the Conqueror. Wow. This almost looks like me. Whoa. But this one definitely looks like me. It's a movie that I wanted to do for a long time. Let's do it.
Arnold has been wanting to make another Conan movie for the better part of a decade now, and his King Conan movie, at one point titled Legend of Conan, was first announced back in 2012. So what is the current status, and what is the holdup? Arnold had this to say: "When it comes to the movie, the sad stuff about all of this is when there's an estate like this, the Robert E. Howard estate, when someone buys these rights, those people now own the rights, and they have their vision of what they want to do, and the guy that has the rights is some young guy, and he's trying to figure out his way through Hollywood, and this is not easy to do. So there are people that say to him, why don't you start with a TV series? And then he negotiates for a TV series, and that falls apart. Then he goes maybe to Netflix, and that falls apart. Then he decides to make a movie maybe. But in the meantime, we have been trying to convince him for years now that the way to go is to come back and hire a really great director, and to do another Conan movie and have me play King Conan, when Conan is like 70 years old, and he's disgusted by sitting on the throne and being the king, and then something happens after that. It's really not that far from creating a finished script. The only one who really has to pull the trigger here is the people who own the Conan rights to do a movie. Let's go to Netflix or whoever it is, let's hire a director who's very creative and can elevate the project to make it a winning project. I hope it will be done very soon, because I think it's a great idea. So there you have it. Schwarzenegger is game, and he wants to make the long-awaited King Conan movie, but that young guy is having a hard time navigating Hollywood, and he wants to do something else with Conan, which he so far has failed at doing. Arnold is not wrong about any of this, but I do feel that some further elaboration might be in order nonetheless. So let's reveal the young guy, the failed Conan projects he tried to set up, and why he might not want to do the King Conan movie that Arnold wants. This young guy is none other than the Swedish game developer turned film producer Fredrik Malmberg. He is in charge of the entire Robert E. Howard estate, and as such he has the final say over at the very least who gets to be custodians of Conan on film, in comics, in video games and more, as he is in charge of Conan Properties Inc., as well as the various parent companies that unit has had over the course of the past decade and a half. Based on Arnold's comments, it might be tempting to bring out the pitchforks right about now, but there is more to it. First of all, Malmberg has done a lot of good for Conan, and he was a central figure in the second golden age of Conan author Robert E. Howard, which began in the early aughts. It was on Malmberg's watch that countless original stories and drafts, both Conan and otherwise, that were either long since out of print or had never been released before, were made available to readers. Fans of the literary Conan, as well as of Robert E. Howard in general, never had it as good as after Malmberg took control over the Howard estate. Under his leadership, Age of Conan, Conan Exiles, and all other Funcom Conan games saw the light of day. However, it was also on his watch that the already filmed fan film Iron Shadows was scrapped, that the animated feature film Red Nails ran out of funding before it was completed, and worst of all, it was on his watch that Millennium's 2011 Conan remake happened. Granted, several studios had by then already passed on a Conan reboot, and he did have a board that were pressuring for a movie to happen right now. But even so, handing the keys to Conan, creative control and all, over to Avi Lerner's Millennium and New Image Productions was a catastrophic mistake. The script for that movie leaked online early, and the casual fans and Howard scholars alike were repulsed by it. So much so that a group of Howard scholars even published an open letter warning that the movie was a disaster waiting to happen, one which would kill all momentum Howard and Conan had gained. Malmberg may have listened, as he was reportedly instrumental in securing the rewrite from Sean Hood, which did some patching up, but Lerner and the powers that be at Millennium did not, and charged ahead with the same basic take that fans were so violently against. Watching that production was like watching a train wreck unfolding in slow motion. It was so obvious to anyone not involved in the production, well, probably a few inside of it as well, that the movie was heading for the certain disaster it indeed was. The fallout from that movie, and the subsequent devaluation of the Conan brand where additional licensees were concerned, was such that then Conan Properties owner Paradox Entertainment actually had to throw in the towel. There were some in the company that wanted to split up the entire Robert E. Howard estate by property, and auction each part off to the highest bidder. It was reportedly Malmberg himself that prevented this by setting up a new company which swooped in, took over, and kept the entire Robert E. Howard estate under one roof. In the aftermath of the abysmal failure of the 2011 movie, Millennium allowed the Conan movie rights to revert back to Conan Properties. By now, however, Arnold Schwarzenegger was no longer tied up as the governor of California. Unlike the late 80s and 90s, when he himself reportedly was the major hurdle preventing a King Conan movie, Schwarzenegger was now making his post-politics comeback into film, and must have decided that time was ripe for the long-awaited King Conan movie. An agreement with Universal Pictures was reached, and here is the thing to keep in mind. Malmberg and Conan Properties did issue Universal with the Conan movie rights. In the aftermath of Avi Lerner and Millennium destroying the franchise in a very public way, they didn't really have any other choice. So in other words, Universal had secured the participation of Arnold Schwarzenegger, they had secured the Conan movie rights, and they were developing a script. This script was reportedly not based on any Howard story, or any other Conan stories from the comics or some other pastiche. Instead, David Gimmel's legend had been appropriated, with Conan taking on the role of the aged King Druss, who threw his crown away for one final blaze of glory. The ball was firmly in Universal's court. There were reportedly some very high-profile directors that were interested in taking the project on as well. All Universal had to do was pull the trigger. They never did. Around this time, Universal saw some of their franchises like Jurassic Park and The Fast and the Furious and Despicable Me turn into billion-dollar properties, while Schwarzenegger's comeback wasn't nearly as successful. They dragged their feet, assessing the situation, until Terminator Genisys failed, and then they pulled the plug once and for all. After that, Arnold no longer had a studio behind him wanting to make a King Conan movie. The Conan rights he never had, it was Universal that had stewardship of those, and in the aftermath of passing on the movie, they handed the Conan movie license back to Conan Properties. The challenge with Schwarzenegger reprising the role at this stage is that he is 70. That is not to say he couldn't kick the ass of men half his age, and he no doubt has a great Conan movie in him still, but that would realistically have to be a one-off King Conan movie, which would fulfill an on-screen promise made the better part of 4 decades ago. This one-off would have to feature a new story, as the fact of the matter is that Arnold has aged out of all the original Conan stories that make up the foundation of the character's popularity, even the King Conan stories. As such, you can't blame the Conan rights holders for, if they can choose, preferring a younger actor who can still portray those many adventures on screen in many subsequent installments, and then mature into King Conan down the line. And such an option did present itself to them. Colony showrunner Ryan Condal approached Conan Properties about doing a high-end Game of Thrones caliber TV series, one which would tell the original Conan stories across multiple seasons, with new connective tissue in between. Talks came to involve Amazon, and a deal was reached. According to those who read them, Condal's scripts were amazing. Amazon committed to 2 seasons right off the bat. The necessary rights were handed over, and the ball was firmly in Amazon's court. Alas, there was a change in management at Amazon. The guys who ordered Conan were ousted. Jennifer Salk was brought in, and then news updates from the Conan series stopped. We later learned that would be because Amazon, behind closed doors, had passed on it. About this, I have heard that allegedly, and these are not my words, Jennifer Salk is a, quote, card-carrying SJW, and she killed Condal's Conan more for ideological purposes than anything else. With Conan off the Amazon roster, Salk would later throw her weight behind Amazon's adaptation of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, which has been emphasized to be female-centric. Might not be a coincidence. So there you have it. That's how this Young Guys Conan series fell apart. Schwarzenegger references Netflix on a few occasions, but if he uses that as a shorthand to refer to Amazon's streaming service, or if Malmberg did offer Conan to Netflix too and was rejected there as well, I cannot say, because that is the challenge here. Universal weren't willing to commit to a movie that did star Schwarzenegger, and Amazon backed out of a series that did not. So what to do? Should Conan Properties approach Netflix, if they haven't already? Or Hulu after that? They might be a good fit, seeing as Marvel owner Disney is about to become majority owner of Hulu following the Fox acquisition. Get some synergies going there. Or should Arnold Schwarzenegger and Conan Properties team up and try to pitch an offering together? If need be, I'd personally be all for a high-end Conan series featuring Schwarzenegger's King Conan as a framing device, bookending the adventures of a younger, recast Conan. Either way, I just hope that we get another crack at Conan, a good one. As our friend Mr. H pointed out in his coverage of the situation, in this day and age, Conan could represent some very lucrative counter-programming for the right bidder. Let me know what you would like to see happen in the comments, and be sure to check back soon for my retrospective of Arnold Schwarzenegger and John Milius' Conan the Barbarian. It will be epic.
If you like this video, then please help share it and share your opinion in the comments. Midnight's Edge aims to give the most comprehensive analysis and commentary on genre culture and entertainment. If you would like to see more of our videos, then please subscribe, hit the bell icon, and remember to indicate that you would like to be notified when new videos are uploaded. If you really like what we do, then please support us on Patreon until a better alternative comes along, or send us a direct donation through PayPal. Also check out our sister channel Midnight's Edge After Dark for live shows and other rants. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay tuned for more here at Midnight's Edge.